on page 446. So we're still on the Aron Kodesh. Now, if you take a look, 4 lines from the bottom, 446. So it says, Vasisa bade atse shitim, vitzipisa osam zahav. You should make poles out of atse shitim, and you should coat them with gold. Now, it's a very interesting thing because this word atse shitim, acacia wood, if you look ahead for a second, keep your finger on the place here, put the marker on, and then take a look at right at the end of Parshas Pinchas. Look at Parshas Pinchas. Not Parshas Pinchas. Parsha before Pinchas. Balak, I think.
Balak.
Yeah, Parshas right at the end of Parshas Balak. Okay, so if you look at the end of Parshas Balak, page 874. It says, Vayeshev, 4 lines from the top. Vayeshev Yisrael Bashitim. They were in a place called Shitim. And what's the wood over here? I'd say Shitim. Very interesting. Vayeshev Yisrael Bashitim Vayochelam Liznos El B'nei Moav. They started sinning with the daughters of Moab. So the Gemara says, why is the place called Shitim? Look at Rashi. Rashi just brings down Kach Shema. Rashi says, right column of Rashi, 7 lines from the top, on 874, Rashi says, B'Shitim Kach Shema. The name of the place was Shitim. The Gemara says, why was the place called Shitim? The Gemara says, Shitim is from it's connected Hebrew word shtus, foolishness, folly. Because in the water, just drinking the water of Shittim, being in a place called Shittim and drinking the water of Shittim causes the person to behave immorally. Causes immorality. So that means that there's something about places, there's something about situation, there's something about the environment. Obviously, if you walk into a club, your mood when you walk into a club where you hear loud music and and have a couple of drinks, so your mood is different than when you're in a library, right? Your mood is different when you're in a museum. Right? So there's something about the environment. There's something about Shittim that actually causes people to behave foolishly. And there's nothing as foolish as immorality. So the Medrash says that's why the Aron Kodesh was made with Shittim wood. That a person could fortify himself against this area of life by learning Torah. Which goes back to the Gemara in Kedushin, that says, Barasi Yetzer Hara, I created the evil inclination, Barasi lo Torah Tavlid. I created the Torah as the antidote. There is no way to overcome the Yetzer Hara in this area of life other than through Torah study. Hold all the questions for a few minutes, okay? Just hold all the questions for a few minutes. There is no way to overcome the Yetzer Hara other than through Torah study. You can do all the mitzvahs in the world, and it's good to do mitzvahs. But nothing counteracts the evil inclination like Torah, because Torah itself is a fire. The evil inclination is a fire, and the Torah is a fire. So you fight fire with fire. And you could try everything you want, but you never see those TV shows where there's the mad professor who injects the good guy with some sort of disease. And then they got to find this professor within 24 hours in order to find it. There's only one antidote for it. And if they don't find it, the guy's going to die. And they always find him in the 59th minute, right? In the 23 hours and 59 minutes later, they always manage to find the guy and get the antidote. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the disease. There's a disease called Yetzer Hara. There's only one antidote. The antidote is Torah study. The more you study Torah, the more it counteracts it. Let's take it even deeper. You ready? You want to go deeper? We'll go deeper. There is one of the sages who never got married. Who was it? Ben Azai. Or the Ohr Somayach got married. They all got married. Ben Azai didn't get married. There's one opinion that he married the daughter of Rabbi Akiva and they got divorced. But the standard opinion is he never got married. So the sages said to him, what's up with that? Considering that Ben Azai is the one who said anybody who doesn't get married, it's like he's murdering.
Whoa.
Anybody who doesn't get married, bring children into the world, it's as if he's derelict in his duties. So the sages said to him, well, you're great at preaching, but you don't practice what you preach. As Yafa Doresh, Vein Yafa Mekayim. You preach it, but you don't practice it yourself. He said, what do you want from me? Nafshi choshka b'Torah. I desire Torah. And therefore, I'm so immersed in Torah, I don't get married. I'm absolved from getting married. Now, what's interesting is that we don't find anybody else like that. All the sages got married. Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yehuda, Nasi and Moshe Rabbeinu and Yeshua, they all got married. And Ben Azai comes along and he was ratified. His view was ratified by the sages. So the question is why? I mean, why is he potter from being the first mitzvah in the Torah? Why is he potter? Why is he exempt? The answer is that Ben Azai wasn't saying that because I'm learning Torah 24 hours a day, I just don't have time for a wife. That was all he was saying. He was saying, not that I don't want to get married, or not that I don't have time to get married. He was saying, I can't get married. I can't get married. Why can't he get married? So that goes back to Adam and Chava. How does the Torah describe the husband-wife relationship, the physical relationship? The Torah says, "Ve'adam yada es chava isha." He knew his wife. It's a strange way to describe a very, very physical act. He knew his wife? Why what's it got to do with knowledge? What's it got to do with he knew his wife? Why are you using that thing? I would say that he interacted with his wife. He became physical with his wife. Why would I say he knew his wife? And they even use that in secular terminology to know. The answer is because it's the only physiological function that is affected by the mind. The mind activates that area of life. The mind for a man activates that area of life. It's very, very active on that area of life. So if your mind is not available for it, then you can't get married. How does the mind not become available for it? Because the mind is totally immersed in Torah. If his mind, what Ben Azai was saying was, it's not that I don't want to get married. It's not that I don't have time for a wife. I am so immersed in Torah, I have no mind left. I have no das left. My das, my knowledge, my intellectual abilities are so immersed in Torah that there's nothing left over there. Not that I don't want to. I can't. All of which tells you that that's why the Gemara says that this is the counterforce. Because a lot of it has to do with imagination. And if a person's mind is occupied with Torah, so his mind won't be occupied. But even more than that, it has to do with offsetting forms of satisfaction. If a person has the satisfaction of Torah, so then at a certain point he's not looking for or yearning as much as normal for that area of satisfaction. It has to do with the counterforce. So here the Torah is telling you, now back to where we are, that you make these va'asisa badeyatze shitim v'tzipisa osam zohav. You make the badem out of shitim wood and coat them with gold. Why shitim? Why? And the Aron Kodesh is made out of shitim. It's the same thing. The idea of the shitim. Can we open the window a little bit? Flip the window open a little bit. It got warm. The shitim wood, which represents Torah, is what's it called? The best defense is a good offense. Right? This is the offense that serves as a defense. Put yourself in the Torah, then you won't have the area with shitim. By the way, that's why it says in Pirkei Avos, it says, Tzchok v'kalus rosh margilin la'irva. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says, laughter and levity leads to immorality. Right? Oh yeah, immorality always begins with the drink. Next thing you know, abortions. Right? That's how it starts. It starts with right. Every frat party has a big punch bowl. Right? Everybody. First thing then the girls drink. You get the girls drunk, and then the next day, I can't believe I did that. I drank like a fish. So then you can't believe you did that. I can't believe I did that. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. So what happened over here? The answer is that this is the only area of life. This is the only avera that requires two participants. To eat treif, you only need one participant. To wear shatnez, you only need one participant. Murder requires two participants, but usually one of them is not a willing participant. Right? Usually, most people get murdered. It's not like, hey, yeah, let's play murder today. It wasn't. Yeah. But when it comes to morality, you need two people who normally have the sense to understand what you're doing is so severe that it's a prohibition of kares. And if it's a married woman, so it's a prohibition. It's a capital offense for both. How could two people end up at that state? I mean, two intelligent people, two people who, he puts on tefillin, she benches Shabbos licht. How could they possibly end up in that area? The answer is that you get involved in laughter and levity. You make light of everything. So you get into a state where we're not taking anything seriously. Because if you were in a normal, serious state of life, if you just view life seriously, like, hey, how can we possibly do something like this? It's ridiculous. Right? Ridiculous to even think about such a thing, right? So what do? You kind of push away any serious thought by getting about death, right? That's how it works. That's how it works. So the Torah is telling you the best defense is a good offense, and the offense is get involved in Torah study. And the Torah study of the Aron Kodesh, which is for Matzei Shittim, that will be a protective device against Shittim. Now, I want to show you something. I'll get to you one second, Mayor. How many aliyahs are there in the course of the week? How many aliyahs today? We're talking about aliyahs before, including Shabbat. Shabbat's also part of the week, yeah. How many?
13.
Why 13?
Three and 7.
You're for Mincha and Shabbos. Mincha, yeah, we got that. Yeah, we got that Mincha. Yeah, well, it's got to be part of one week. Tamar, that's part of next week, but it's got to be one of us. Got to be part of this week. Can't just not every Mincha.
The shower of the rain, it's like
I understand, but it's either part of the past week or part of the next week. But it's part of some week. No, we don't cancel out Mincha. I'm not talking about what you do. I'm talking about what we should do, right? So we don't cancel out Mincha. We don't cancel out Mincha. Yeah, maybe keep that door open. Okay, leave the door open. The door open so get some air. So if you take a look, look at the word bade, gentlemen. Beis is 2, Dalet is 4, Yud is 10. Bade 16 alludes to the 16, 4 lines from the bottom, alludes to the 16 aliyahs during the week. And when is it that we lane? Look at the last word in the pasuk. V'tzipiso sam zahav. Zayin is Shabbos, including Mincha, Itamar. Hey is Thursday, is 5, and Beis is Monday. So you have the 16 aliyahs on Shabbos, Thursday, and Monday. That's what the commentaries say. Okay, that's just entertainment. But let's go on. Now, what do you do with these badim? Vehevesas habadim batabaos. You put these poles in the ring. That's in the picture. You see those? They look like Q-tips. Al tsalos ha'aron, lo seisas ha'aron bahem. Now, pay attention carefully. They're there to carry the Aron Kodesh. Now, if you stop and think about it, this Aron Kodesh was extremely heavy. You're talking about solid gold. 2 of the boxes are solid gold. The kaporis that goes on top, which is the cover of the Aron Kodesh. So 2.5 by 1.5. The kaporis itself was 2.5 amas long. 2.5 amas long is, let's say, each amma is about 18 inches, minimum. Call it 2.5, I call it 20 inches for a compromise. Each amma, 2.5 is 20, is 50 inches, right? This table is about 50 inches. Let's say it's the size of this table, and the thickness is 1 tefach thick. And this is pure gold, just a cover. And then you have the kruvim who are coming out, the 2 kruvim on the side. They are not made and then attached. It was all one piece of this top. Now, even without the kruvim, I once made a calculation. I don't know how I arrived at this, but I once made a calculation based on gold prices of what just the cover of the Aron Kodesh would be worth. And gold is a very heavy metal, So I can imagine how much just this kapara is worth. I once made a calculation. I think I came out with about $11 or $12 million, just the cover. Then I cried, right? But I think I came out with about a 10, 11, $12 million, just the cover, based on my very imprecise calculations. Now, if you take 2 poles made out of acacia wood, and you're going to carry this thing, and 4 kohanim are going to lift this up. 8 kohanim are going to lift this up with Q-tips. Right? It doesn't. Somehow it isn't going to make it, is it? Right? You would need a what do you call? You need a forklift with metal beams, with iron plutonium beams to lift this up. Somebody once said, they have in airplanes, they have the black box. They can always find the black box, which isn't black, by the way, but I think it's orange. But they call it the black box. Somebody said, why don't they just make the whole plane out of the black box material? That way the plane, when it crashes, it won't, a good question, right?
It wouldn't fly.
It wouldn't fly, it wouldn't move. You know what it'd take, how heavy it would be. They make the planes out of what? They make the planes now out of some sort of, some very light material, that what do you call it? So yeah, how can you possibly pick that up? You're talking about, how much this weighs, and you pick it up with two wooden poles? Really, honestly. Says the Gemara, that what?
No, was it 11 million you said? 11,
give or take.
It carried itself.
The Aaron carried those that carry it. The Aaron carried those, no se es nosav. There was an optical illusion. It looked like they were carrying the Aaron Kodesh, but really the Aaron Kodesh was carrying them. Again, we're talking about concepts that we can't possibly fathom. But the Aaron Kodesh was carrying them. But what does that really mean? What's the lesson for us? The lesson for us is that what do poles do for the Aaron Kodesh? That's theoretically what you pick it up with, what supports it. So the Aaron Kodesh represents Torah. The poles represent those who support Torah. Those who support Torah. So you have people supporting a yeshiva. You have wealthy people supporting a yeshiva. Who's really supporting who? Are they wealthy and therefore have money to give to the yeshiva? Or is it because they give money to the yeshiva that the yeshiva that they have money? And not only that, it could be supporting them, it could be carrying their life. Why are they even alive? Maybe they're alive because they're giving money to the yeshiva. So who's giving life to whom? Who's giving support to whom? So this wealthy man once said to Rav Shteiman Zatzal, very wealthy man, he said, how come we need so many kollels? So Shteiman said to him, how come we need so many wealthy men? Maybe we'll have less kollels and we'll have fewer wealthy men. The guy, no. He got nervous. He got nervous. No. Why do we have so many wealthy men? So that there can be kollels. People looking at the other way. Oh, because we have wealthy men, we have so many kollels. No, it works the other way. Because we have kollels, that's why we have so many wealthy men. So the Aaron was no seis nosa. Now look what the Torah says. B'tabos Aaron yu abadim. The poles should be in the rings of the Aaron Kodesh. Lo yasuru mimenu. They're not allowed to be removed. This is codified. Blake, do you have a chumash? There should be. Please somebody provide with a chumash. There should be plenty of chumashim here. This is codified as one of the Taryag mitzvahs. Keep that door open, Leon. We need to get some air. This is codified as one of the Taryag mitzvahs. That one of the 613 mitzvahs, if you look at it says you are not allowed to remove the poles from the Aaron Kodesh. They put them in and you're not allowed to remove them. I was puzzled by this mitzvah. That means if somebody happens to be walking past the base of Migdash, and all of a sudden you have this overwhelming urge to go in and run in and rip the poles out of the Aaron Kodesh, somebody hold me back. You're not allowed to. No, don't do it. And it's one of the Taryag mitzvahs. You're not allowed to. Don't rip the pole. Don't take the poles out of the Aaron Kodesh. What's a Taryag? That's a Taryag. What's it got to? How any people? I've had a lot of things I've wanted to. I've thought about shoplifting. I haven't done it recently, but I haven't. But I've been in the bank where the guy's counting out money in the bank, the teller's counting out money, thinking to myself, I wonder if one way or another, if this guy got called away, if I'd be able to, sneak. These funny thoughts, these fleeting thoughts, if I could. I never once thought about, boy, I wonder if I'd be able to rip those poles out of the Aaron Kodesh. I just never, even shotness. I've had my suits checked for shotness, but it's not like, let's see if I could sneak some wool and linen over here where nobody's looking. Certain things we have a desire for, and certain things we don't have a desire for. The Mishnah at the end of Mako says that, there's a prohibition to eat blood.
Like not allowed?
You're not allowed. You're not allowed to eat blood. How do you like that? There goes lunch. You're not allowed to eat blood, right? That's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons why we salt the meat. You salt the meat and you draw out the blood, right? So the Gemara says, there are certain things that we do have a yearning for. The Mishnah says most people have a yearning to steal, not that actually to be thieves. But we'd like to. It's sometimes difficult not to not to nip away a little bit, to take something that you could get where nobody know about it. So normal yearnings that we have, the normal yearnings we have are theft and immorality. That's what the Mishnah says. That's something that we have. Blood and bugs, shrutzim, like flies, bugs, ants, worms, that sort of thing. Most people don't really have an appetite for that. And blood, we can do without it. They have a certain food in the north of England called black pudding, which is like congealed blood. It's like a salami roll, but it's blood, right? And I'm sure it tastes good, otherwise I wouldn't be eating it, right? I'm sure it tastes good, but we don't. We have a tremendous aversion to blood, right? So Gemara says, if the Torah says don't eat blood, the Torah says don't eat bugs, if we get rewarded for refraining from things which we wouldn't want to do anyway, right? So imagine the reward we get for refraining from the things that we do want to do. That a person merits for himself and all future generations from refraining from the things that we do want to do, right? Yet one of them is not ripping the poles out of the Aron Kodesh. Somehow that didn't make it onto the list. And by the way, you should know that blood. When's the last time? When I was growing up, I still remember my mother koshering liver. My mother used to kosher liver. With the liver, you can't put salt on liver. You have to broil it out. And you broil out the liver in the house, it would set off every smoke alarm nowadays. It's smoky and it smells, it's got a very, very, very harsh smell. And I remember I was a little kid when I saw my mother doing it. I think she used to salt the chickens also. Now everything comes pre-koshered. There are still people who do it in their home. People are very meticulous. Well, they'll still kosher the chickens. But in most koshers, what do you call it? They sprinkle the salt on it. They draw the blood out of the meat and out of the chickens, that sort of thing. So when do we ever have an opportunity to fulfill this mitzvah of not eating blood? You know when? When you buy the meat. When you buy the chicken. Because part of the price is the labor that it takes for salting it. Why are we paying 8 times the price for kosher meat when you pay for non-kosher? I don't even know what a pound of non-kosher meat costs. Go hamburger meat. $2. Kosher meat probably costs $12. I'm guessing. I don't know what the price. You're paying a tremendous amount. Part of that, at that moment, I'm paying to not eat blood, among other things. I'm also paying to eat shechted meat, and so on and so forth. So that's where you get. So the what do you call it? The Torah says don't remove the poles from the Aron Kodesh. Well, what's it got to do with us? None of us have got to. We don't even have an urge to do that. By the way, I have a friend who told me a friend of mine was a shochet. And he told me that in the slaughterhouse they have non-Jews there also. They help to hold the animal steady when they do the shechita. And he said that they shechted the cow, and one of the guys was there, and he took a cup, he just filled it up right up at the neck, and down the hatch. Yeah. Don't knock it till you try it. It's rich in minerals and everything else. It's got a. He hadn't had breakfast that morning. So he filled it up. Put a little bit of whipped cream on the top. He had enough. What do you call it? An iced coffee? Well, yeah, they do that with iced coffee. What are you guys wanting? A bunch of wimps. What happened? You can't handle it? Violence in the movies, yes, but the hero, the guy drank some blood. I mean, it's a guy who knows. Don't knock it. But to us, your reactions are correct. To us, it's absolutely. I can't. I can't even think about it. It's revolting to us. So the Torah says over here, don't pull the poles out of the Aron Kodesh. What's the Torah talking about? The Torah is saying, you who support Torah, don't remove your support from Torah. Don't remove the support of Torah. And the mistake that people made, it's an illusion. There's an illusion. Because people think that we're giving the money and supporting Torah. Now, many fundraisers from yeshivas, fundraising is a very difficult thing, which is why I don't do it. But many people will tell the guy who they're fundraising by that, they'll say to him, listen, we will allow you to be a partner here. We'll do you a favor and give you the privilege of supporting the yeshiva, of paying for Torah. So people who appreciate Torah, they'll grab the opportunity. Many people don't. It's unfortunate. That's what it means to put the poles in. Now, more than that, I want to finish this before I take any questions. V'nasata el ha'aron esa edus asher etene lecha. You should put into the Aron Kodesh the edus. The edus is the testimony. Literally, edus means testimony, like an aid, right? Testimony. Okay. So, first of all, by the way, there were also poles in the shulhan, and there were also poles in the menorah. The menorah had poles to carry the menorah. Okay, but there were no poles in the there were poles in the Aron Kodesh. Yet it does not mention this limitation of not pulling the poles out by the shulhan, by the showbreads. Doesn't say. It says make poles. Doesn't say don't pull them out, and it doesn't say by the menorah. The only place it says not to pull the poles out is when it comes to the Aron Kodesh. So first of all, that supports this idea that it's referring to the support of Torah, to not detach the support of Torah. But Rav Hirsch says that part of the idea here is, what's the Torah command? Why do the poles have to remain in place? You know, I think they say that soldiers, when soldiers are on alert, they sleep in their shoes. Right? They sleep in their shoes, and I think there are different levels. Shoes on and untied. There are different levels of alert. Shoes off, right? Because you may have to get up and jump up and go do what you have to do. Why would you say to somebody, hey, leave the cars in the ignition. Leave the key in the ignition. Leave the keys in the ignition. Why would you do that? Because they know you probably need to get away real quick, right? In case you need to get away real quick. If a husband has a wife who's in her 9th month, and she's overdue, and you may have to drive, and it's Shabbos, so chances are he's going to leave the keys in the ignition. So he can run out and get going. Here, the poles are in the Aron Kodesh. Why? Symbolically, because we may have to grab the Aron Kodesh and run. And if we have to grab the Aron Kodesh, you don't want to be fiddling with the poles in case, it doesn't fit in right, the Aron Kodesh falls, that sort of thing. So keep the poles in the Aron Kodesh. Symbolically, the Torah is telling you may have to take your Aron Kodesh away one day. Meaning that the Aron Kodesh ideally should be in Yerushalayim in the Beis Hamikdash. But if it's not possible, you're going to have to take it with you wherever you go. That means Torah applies everywhere we go. There's no say Torah does not apply only in Israel with the Beis Hamikdash. Torah applies everywhere we go. And if you go into exile, Torah goes with you. Where was the greatest period of Torah learning in Jewish history? Bavel is not like, a neighbor. It's not like Harnof and Bavel. Bavel pretty, it's due east over there, right? Just a few missiles away, right? So it's not, that's what you call it. That's where Bavel is, and that's where the Torah was learned. So you may have to pull the Torah away. Why is it that the poles are not permanently required in the shulchan and in the menorah? Because it's telling you is the shulchan and the menorah never get taken away. Meaning, the ultimate prosperity of the Jewish people will only be in Eretz Yisrael. That's the shulchan. The ultimate prosperity, the period of Shlomo HaMelech, was the ultimate in prosperity. That's only in Eretz Yisrael. And the menorah represents the clarity that comes from Torah, the light of Torah. Even that, the highest level of Torah will still be in Eretz Yisrael. We have to learn Torah in Chutz La'aretz. We have to learn Torah when we're in Golus. But the ultimate achievement of Torah clarity is going to be in Eretz Yisrael with the Beis Hamikdash, because the Gemara says, Ein Torah keTorah's Eretz Yisrael. There's no Torah like the Torah of Eretz Yisrael. The Gemara says, Avira de Eretz Yisrael machkim. The very air of Eretz Yisrael makes you wiser. I was just in Los Angeles. The air of Los Angeles also does something to you. Doesn't make you wise. Doesn't make you wiser though. Right? It does something to you, right? Various possibilities, right, Rachamim? Various possibilities of addiction. But it doesn't make you wiser. That's for sure. Avira d'Eretz Yisrael machkim. The air of Eretz Yisrael makes you wiser. And therefore, by the Aron Kodesh, by the shulchan, which represent prosperity, the poles don't have to be in there permanently. Meaning you can take out the poles. The shulchan stays where it is. It's never going anywhere. The ultimate in prosperity is going to be in Eretz Yisrael. That's why you have Jewish neighborhoods all over the world. There have been fancy, beautiful Jewish neighborhoods that somehow the Jews always moved out anyway. Because they're in Golus. You didn't get there. You're not there yet. Even if you have what, a beautiful home and a beautiful car and a beautiful kiddush club, you still haven't made it. You still haven't made it because you may have to move. The ultimate in prosperity is the time when the Jewish people are in Israel. The ultimate wisdom is going to be, the ultimate kedusha is going to, the ultimate understanding of Torah is when there will be a Beis Hamikdash. But the Aron Kodesh has to have the poles in it because you're going to be leaving. Okay, you're going to be leaving. One day you're going to go to Chutz La'aretz. You're going to go into Golus. And don't think that Torah is limited only to Eretz Yisrael. You go to Golus and you take the Torah with you. One last point before I get to questions. You put the edus. The edus literally means testimony into the Aron, which is referring to so there are different opinions. What do you call it? The Rashi says HaTorah shehi la'edus beini u'veinechem. Left column of Rashi, second to last line. What is the edus? Says Rashi, HaTorah shehi la'edus. It is testimony beini u'veinechem. The Torah itself is testimony. Shetzivisi eschem mitzvos aksuvos ba. That I commanded you the mitzvahs in the Torah. The Torah itself is a testimony. Anybody needs the proof is in the pudding. You learn the Torah and you see that it's true. Just learning it, you see that it's true, and then any alternative can't possibly exist. So I saw one of the Mefarshim says, yet why is it called edus? Why is it called edus? Very, very apropos. Very interesting idea. When witnesses come to Beis Din, you have witnesses. They come to Beis Din, they testify. What do the judges, how should we put it? What is it, or how do the judges decide what the testimony of the witnesses means? Based on what they say. Do you remember we learned in Parshas Chayei, where the first shinach in history happens, right? They got to find Rivka for Yitzchak. So when Lavan and his mother start objecting, so the Torah uses a funny turn of phrase. The Torah says, we'll call the young lady, V'nishala espiha. We will ask her mouth. And if she wants to go, and Rivka says, yeah, I want to go with. So use the expression, is the smoke in here because they're barbecue? Yeah, I thought that somebody's koshering liver. The what do you call it? This is what it was like. Boy, I'll tell you, it's a little suggestion, and next thing you know, I said, too bad I didn't talk about the lottery. I said something about smoke, and there it is. Gee, I wonder if I have these strange powers. So it says, V'nishala espia, we'll ask her mouth. I thought you were getting foggy in here. I noticed it's getting foggy. It says, V'nishala espia. Let's ask her mouth. What do you mean? Let's ask her mouth. Let's ask her. Which is a Venishala. We'll call her the Dikra Lanara Venishala. We'll ask her. Why does it say Venishala espia? We'll ask her mouth. Do you remember the pshat we said? No. The answer is because we're talking about asking a female. Right? Rivka is a female. Now, the problem is when you ask females, often what they say is not what they mean. Right? What they say is not what they mean. No, I'm just telling you the facts. Right? See, yeah, you could say to your wife, "Do you mind? We're having a bit of a, the guys are getting together tonight for some beer, and what do you call it? A beer and a mishbar. Do you mind if I go?" And your wife says, "No, I don't mind." Okay, now, Nisha, now what does she mean? No. Well, what did she mean? Oh, she meant no, or no, I don't mind, or she just says, "I don't mind." Right? Right? Now, what did she mean? Can I go? She goes, "Yeah." Yeah. So what happens is that often you have to try to, you have to learn pshat. You have to say the pshat over there. And here by the way, you're on your own. You're on your own. You got no tosos to help you over here. There's no Pnei Yoshua over here. You're on your own, and you better guess right.
What's the rush? Okay.
Comes along, the Mefarshim say over there, that they were making a stipulation. We're going to ask Rivka, V'nishala espiha. Whatever comes out of her mouth, if she says yes, it's a yes. If it's a no, it's a no. Don't start telling me she said yes, but she meant no. Those she said no, she meant yes. That's why it emphasizes Isha as pia, whatever comes out of her mouth. So the Forshim say it's the same thing over here. You know why Torah is called Eidus? When witnesses testify in Beis Din, and they say, yeah, we saw the guy, he pulled the gun, or he bowed to the idols. The judges don't go say, what he really meant was, they're doing that. Eidus means, this is what they said, that's what we were going to, these are the facts. Could they have meant something else? Maybe, but we're not playing games now. They said this is what we operate on. So the Forshim say, I saw one unfortunately who says, that's why the Torah is called Eidus. The Torah gives all sorts of instructions over here. Then you get modern, Bible critics or say liberals or whatever. The Torah obviously didn't mean you really execute the guy. The Torah just meant that you make him watch soap operas. That's painful enough, or all sorts of other the suggestions that people make about the Torah. It didn't really mean that. Comes along, the Torah says, the Torah is an Eidus. Torah says that the Torah meant it. All right, you need poskim, you need rabbanim, and so to help interpret. But at the end of the day, don't go start distorting things and changing things. We have a Torah Sheba'al Peh. You have a Torah Sheba'al Peh that tells us what the Torah Shebiksav meant. So there are certain times this is an eye for an eye, doesn't mean an eye. But that's only because we have a Torah. That's also part of the Torah. Torah Sheba'al Peh is part of the Torah. That's why in the story with Hillel, when the guy comes to Shammai, and he says, how many Torahs do you have? A guy with the potential convert. He says, how many Torahs do you have? He says, we have 2 Torahs. Torah Shebiksav, Torah Sheba'al Peh. He says, I believe you on the written Torah. I don't believe you on the oral Torah. So Shammai threw him out. So he came to Hillel. He says, I believe you on written Torah. I don't believe you on the oral Torah. So Hillel said, okay. So I'll teach you the Torah. So he teaches Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Dalet. The next day, he pointed to it. He said, okay, see that letter? That's a Beis. He said, hey, yesterday you told me that's an Aleph. He said, see this letter? That's a Gimel. He said, yesterday you told me that's a Beis. He says, you believed what I told you yesterday? So believe me when I tell you there's an oral Torah. What did Hillel mean by that? What Hillel meant, the simplest understanding is, how do even I know that an Aleph is called an Aleph? You can't read. You didn't read in a book that an Aleph is called an Aleph. Somebody had to tell you what an Aleph is and how an Aleph is pronounced in order to understand it. This is the same way there's a written Torah, there's an oral Torah. But that's all part of the Torah. The Eidus is, that's what it says in the oral Torah. So, okay, that's what it is. That's what it says in the written Torah. That's what it is. But don't go start distorting and changing things like many people do. What's it called? Bilineal descent. What is it called? Patrilineal descent. And that's descent and that descent. And it's all one big descent. Yeah, it's all one big descent. It's an Eidus. It's an Eidus. We don't the same way we don't tamper with testimony. We don't tamper with it. Yeah. Sorry, I made a question of it yesterday.
Oh,
yeah.
before,
Yeah.
With the Asishitim, the Bade or whatever, the pole, why iron? So it's the acacia wood is the bad stuff, right? So that's Shitim, right? So that's the.
It's not the acacia wood isn't the bad stuff. The place called Shitim.
I'm saying, but symbolically.
Symbolically, it's to ward off the bad stuff. It's the counterforce. The
Shitim wood itself is the counterforce?
The Shitim wood represents the Aron Kodesh. The Aron Kodesh itself is made out of Shitim wood. The Aron Kodesh, Shitim wood, it's not made out of stuff that's bad. It's made, it represents, the Torah is put in this in order to be the counterforce to a place called Shitim.
Oh, so it's like kind of like
yeah. I saw one of the commentaries, a contemporary, a Hasidic Rebbe. There's a Hasidic, a contemporary, maybe from the last generation, a couple generations. He said even language. He said the French language lends itself to immorality. He says the French itself. You could hear the language. There's certain language. Certain characteristics of what do you call it? Yeah. Nothing. Go ahead.
So I'm also wondering if with the polls, there's like another little hint there that you're not supposed to test Hashem. So the sense is like, well, it's carrying the people who are carrying it. Why don't we get rid of the people who are carrying it? Why don't we get rid of the polls? Because it'll take care
very nice. It'll take care of that. We can't do. Good. Very good. Very good. We can't live with it. We have to have the. You have to make the proper effort. Mm-hmm. Somebody once said, by the way, one guy in Ohr Somayach, he said, there were rabbinic laws that were added on to the Torah laws. He says the polls is the part that you added on. Don't separate that. The rabbinic laws is also part of Torah. Very creative. Very creative. Yes, Mayor.
Yeah, so we spoke about the inner coverage and the outside coverage of the wood.
I didn't hear the inner.
The wood has to be covered from the outside
and the inside, right?
So I mean, we didn't maybe like it means like I mean, the Torah is the cover that goes all around. Like to the outside, there is certain.
What Rav Hirsch says is it's teaching us that we have to perfect ourselves on the inside, perfect ourselves on the outside. Our inner self and our outer self has to be, we could put on the show on the outside, but we have to perfect ourselves on the inside. That's one idea. The other idea is that in your home and outside your home. But everywhere, in all areas of our life, we have to turn ourselves, we have to grow, the Aron Kodesh, the wood, grow into gold. The gold is always the standard. Not by me. I don't mean it's not the standard, it means it's not the possession, right? But it's the standard, it's certainly the standard, right? Even just saying the word gold puts you in a good mood, right? You smile when you say gold. Money. Whenever they say at the wedding, they say, okay, say cheese. What cheese? What's cheese going to do me? Money. There you go. You say money, then you smile. Right? Say gold, then you smile. Right? All right.